Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Friday Night Leisure Live with yours truly and with Father Martin Navarro. How are you doing, Father? You are muted, Father.
Doing well, Alberto. How are you?
Doing great. And no, I was not late, actually. I don't think neither Father nor I were late. Father was a little bit later than I was, to be fair to me.
I was too late for to be early, but still early.
There we go. There we go.
We're,
So Friday
we're gonna
Night
take.
Leisure, it's the show where we answer your questions. We want to see you in the chat. Post any of your questions over in the chat. We are streaming live on X, live on YouTube. So post your questions. There is a lot going on right now.
Oh
So if you don't
man.
have any questions, there is something wrong with you. You're going to say something, Father, before I interrupt.
Well, I just thought it was gonna be funny if we change your Twitter handle instead of Flatcast, Latecast.
Late Kath. Yeah. Well, we had talked a few months ago, maybe it's been a year already or something like that, about how being on time is racist. So it's just is what it is. That's a reality. So, Father, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on these days. So we missed our episode or our usual show about the story of a soul. I don't have the book. I left the book in my suitcase. Haven't taken it out from when I traveled over to St. Petersburg. We're all over the St. Petersburg Peninsula or the Pinellas Peninsula or whatever they call it. Um, there's a lot going on. So we have the SSPX announces consecrations. They announced this on Candlemas Day. One of the grifters was like, on Groundhog Day. That just tells us how much the grifters are following the liturgical life. It's Candlemas. The SSPX announces that they will be consecrating bishops in July the 1st this year, 2026. And some are speculating, Father, that sources are saying that they will consecrate as many as 5 additional bishops to bring the total of bishops in the SSPX over to 7 bishops. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I want to talk a little bit, Father, about my trip to Florida. So I took a couple of flights, and actually, rather, I was actually surprised at how easy and smooth it was getting back down there because when I've been, I don't know, something has made it just seem rougher than it is. But I think it's that as I've gotten older, Father, I've stayed away from late night flights and early morning flights. Those kill me. So I'd rather lose like a whole day of travel, but not
Uh-huh.
travel early in the morning because that way I don't have to make up the rest in other days. A couple
Right.
of weeks ago, I took a very early flight, 2 early flights back to back on back-to-back days, and that really destroyed me for the whole week. When you have little children and babies, you barely get any sleep, as you all in the chat know. So
Mhm.
whenever I miss a day, it really destroys the rest of the week because I'm like, my body's like, yeah, you're at the very edge of missing sleep. So anyway, so made it down over there, Father. We were at Our Lady of Good Hope. Unfortunately, Archbishop John J. Humphreys, the Archbishop of the Old Roman Catholic See of Caer-Glow, passed away, and I was very blessed to participate, to assist in the solemn high pontifical requiem mass for
So,
His Excellency John J. Humphreys. May he rest in peace. Please pray for the repose of his soul, and
lots of
pray for
adjectives
the.
there.
Pardon me.
Pontifical, solemn, high, requiem. Lots of adjectives.
Yes, exactly. It's a lot, but it was very nice. Celebrated by His Excellency Archbishop Mikul. You were one of the ministers, Father, over at the ceremony. Very intricate ceremony, and one of the things that a couple of things, couple of thoughts that I had. One is, of course, there are not a lot of organizations, Father, that can pull off these ceremonies because you need a lot of clergy, you need a lot
Mm.
of people that actually know what they are doing, and I think that ceremony with a full church. Yeah, Our Lady of Good Hope is not the biggest church ever, but it was still. Good evening, Gavin. Thank you so much for joining the chat, for joining us tonight. I am talking a little bit about my thoughts regarding my latest trip over to St. Petersburg, Florida. I think I've been there, I don't know, maybe 4 times, 3 or 4 times for little stints. I was there over at your ordination about a couple
Mhm.
of years ago. And so, but yes, as I was saying, not a lot of organizations can pull off these types of ceremonies because they are very involved. People have to know what they are doing. We had a wonderful cantor father, which that's one of the projects that you have going on over at Our Lady of Good Hope, which is essentially revamping the Scola, a very, very
Mhm.
exciting project that is coming down the pipe. Of course, assisted by the I don't want to say a bad word or anything like that, but assisted. You got an assist from the Bogosora Church and just how bad they are administrating their resources. But anyway,
Exactly.
but so anyway, yes, we had a great time. We were very tired, Father. That was on Tuesday of this week, which is we were just so worn out. We had to wake up. We had to go to bed early the morning before that. Had to wake up early. Lots of practice times, lots of walkthroughs. We had the ceremony and then the burial and so on and so forth. So by the time that we were done with all the ceremonies, we were completely worn out, basically.
Mhm.
Which is one of the reasons why we did not do our usual live stream on Tuesday nights as we go through our series on the story of a soul by Saint Teresa of Lisieux. But that was my trip on Friday, Father. I was very impressed. Always very nice to see you, of course, to see Archbishop Mikkel, to see Father. I met for the first time ever. We've known each other through the internet a little bit. Met Father Stephen Lefort. He's down. Where is he at, Father? Remind me. He's near in the Miami area, basically, very
He's
close to
over
Mar-a-Lago.
he's 30-ish minutes maybe down from south of Mar-a-Lago. He's in Deerfield Beach, Florida, which is near Boca Raton. It's over on the east coast of Florida. So if you're out there, Google Our Lady of the Rosary, Old Roman Catholic Church, and there you will find Father Stephen Lefort.
Absolutely, that is a growing community, part of the Old Roman Catholic See of Caer-Glow. So you know that you're getting the Catholic faith. Period. End of story. There was a lot of noise. I think the announcement was done today, Father, that Father Kevin Robinson is joining a different jurisdiction, and I'm seeing Catholics, Novus Ordites, going out there and be like, why doesn't he just join the Novus Ordo Church? Deerfield Beach, Florida, reporting. Very nice, very nice.
This is Father Lefort's channel, Breaking Trad
Yes,
Sermons.
exactly.
So
Go
go
subscribe.
Father and subscribe. Breaking Trad Sermons. Listen to
Breaking Trad Sermon.
Father Lefort sermons and stuff.
Which, by the way, Archbishop Mikkel, Father Martin, and Father Lefort, you had a live stream on Wednesday night, so y'all can go check that over on Spoken Issues, while y'all talked about the SSPX consecrations and a few other topics. But there's a lot of noise, Father, on Father Kevin Robinson. He's joining a different jurisdiction. There was already it was already known, at least out there on the social media, that he had had issues with the jurisdiction that he was previously at with his parish. But a lot of people saying, "Oh, why don't you join? What jurisdiction is he joining?" Father Kevin Robinson. That is, I forget the exact name. It's like English Catholic Church or something like that. But it's very complicated. I went into their website. I was reading through everything. I don't really know. And with some of these jurisdictions, Father, you really have to take it basically place by place, uh, on what is going on. It's at least very confusing to me. So, I see the Lost Krill. Thanks for joining us in the chat. We'll get to answering the questions in a few moments as we get a queue of questions coming in. Thank you so much for participating in the chat. Friday night, we talk about what you want to talk about. Drop your questions in the chat, and we will get to them. So yes, so there's a lot of Novus Ordites saying, why doesn't he just join the Catholic Church? Okay, or the Provostian Church. Father, we have not learned our lesson. The Novus Ordo Church does not want you, Father Martin. The Novus Ordo Church does not want Father Kevin Robinson. Why? This is my question to you, Father. Why are people still asking, oh, why don't they just go join the Provostian Institutional Church? Why is that question still out there?
A lot of it is really coming from men, and it's men who need an institution to accept them and to give them a stamp of approval. My theory, and again, this is a theory, is that they didn't really have strong male role models in their life as they were growing up. They didn't have a father figure. They didn't have a coach. They didn't have somebody to give them encouragement to bring the best out of their potential and to help them become true men. And so they're constantly seeking this approval from institutional organizations. Doesn't matter if that institution has McCarrick's and give a huge stamp of approval to someone like McCarrick, making him a cardinal of the church. Doesn't matter if they've made mistakes that big. As long as I had that stamp of approval from Rome, then I am approved. I am good. I am okay. And so it really comes down to daddy issues. I don't have daddy issues, so therefore I have no need for an institution to give me approval if I know that same institution gives that same approval to someone like Cardinal McCarrick or like a Father Rupnik or like a Father Maciel. I just don't need that type of approval. I don't. Now, if there's a credible type of approval that, in a sense, doesn't make mistakes, I'm more willing to accept that sort of approval, or even pursue receiving that sort of approval. But insofar as the approvals, this Cardinal McCarrick has the same stamp that I would have. That stamp means nothing to me. That stamp of approval. So that's one of the issues. Another thing is, I mean, there are people that, yeah, they want to push people down and look haughty and want to really not understand where Father Calvin Robinson is coming from. So first of all, he grew up Church of England, so he didn't grow up really Catholic. He grew up Church of England. He has this ingrained national culture pride inserted into his spirituality. So you can understand, I mean, this is very similar to some of in the Eastern rites. This is the whole reason why we have the Eastern rites in the church. Is people wanted their culture and their nationality together with their Catholicism. And so that's why we have all these Eastern rites. Of course, it developed somewhat organically, apostolically, kind of unlike the Anglican Church, but nevertheless, the Anglican Ordinary shows that not all of it is mistrashed. There's things that are salvageable, things that are good, but yeah, I mean, he's also looking for places he won't get canceled as a priest, and that's legit. If he were to join the Anglican Ordinariate, I mean, we remember Father Treco. I forget his name. Sorry. Anyways, he gave a fiery sermon for the Christ the King, and immediately Bishop Lopes excommunicated him and shut down his entire parish, all because he dared insinuate that the root of the problem of modernism began at the Second Vatican Council. And so, if you can't speak the truth freely, I mean that in a sense it discredits the institution. It discredits the institution. So, for someone coming in, this is what Bishop Mikkel and I kind of always say. It's like, how can you evangelize when Pope Francis is the Pope, when Pope Leo is a Pope? How can you evangelize to this? It's extremely difficult. And so, I mean, you have to kind of give him a little bit of slack of not swimming the Tiber, precisely because, I mean, it's one of the things that Charlie Kirk said. Like, one of the things that's holding me back from converting to Catholicism is the fact that the Pope is a Marxist. I mean, he wasn't wrong.
Absolutely. We may agree or disagree with the reasons, but of course, all those things in a way lessen the culpability, Father, of those that are making these observations, and go to show that things are not as black and white as people who like to LARP about the faith are. Now, it's these people also, Father, have a need to be triumphalistic about their noble sort of faith, of like, oh, there's no salvation outside the church, and so on and so forth. Which one of those days that I was in Florida, I was reading to you from the Second Vatican Council, where Lumen Gentium says that there are elements of sanctification and of truth in communities that are outside of Rome. So it goes to your saying of, if Vatican II is wrong, then you have nothing to worry about. If Vatican II is right, you have nothing to worry about. So how can these people force others and request and require obedience to the Vatican II Church when Vatican II Church does not make those very same requirements? It's like when people go and tell you, oh, you must believe in Vatican II. Okay, which aspects of it? And they can't answer that question. Even Bergoglio couldn't answer that question when he would go out there and say, oh, it's because they reject the Second Vatican Council. Okay, tell us what it is that we need to accept, and then we can have that discussion. Otherwise, it's just vague. But people like to be feel the need to be triumphalistic, and it just ends up showing daddy and mommy issues. Basically, Father, I agree with that. And so anyway, so that's regarding Father Calvin Robinson. And of course, we have even more, as if it was possible, even more grifter scandal. The commentators having affairs and doing all this stuff that they're not supposed to do, that they shouldn't be doing. Again, and these are conservative grifters. But we have known for a long time that, for example, when they have like even the TPUSA conventions or AmFest or whatever they call it, or CPAC or whatever that may be, it is very well known and very well reported that apps such as Grinder, that are for people that really like the Novus Ordo, for example, uh, to utilize, and there are hotspots whenever these conventions happen. So there are, unfortunately, Father Martin, and disturbingly so, more people than we think of, and more people that we know using these apps. So these are people that are not living a Catholic life. But then again, in order, we have the grifters that were even in the shows of people that were involved in this disgraces. Because again, if you have to cast a wide nets if you really want to make a living grifting. There's not enough in the trad world. It's not enough for them, Father, to take away resources from clergy, such as Archbishop Mikkel, Father Lefort, and yourself. They have to even go and cast the net even to the non-Catholic audiences, because they know the more that you expand toward, for example, Republican audiences, the more followers you get, the more subscribers, the more the monetization in your channel grows, and all these things. So it's not enough for them to take away resources that rightly belong to the clergy. And I know that Father Lefort over in the chat has very strong words to say regarding people who do this. But yes, so these people are not living Catholic lives, and maybe they, instead of seeking approval from our blessed Lord Jesus Christ, they're trying to seek approval from an audience, because that makes them feel like they are living a Catholic life, because they can't control their wives, they can't get their daughters to dress modestly, and even if when they can have the trappings of a traditional family, they cannot make them pursue virtue, can't make their wives not have rash judgments, and many other disorders. So yes, what are your thoughts, Father, about the new grifter scandal?
There's different perspectives to take it from. One, it seemed like we're in particular we're talking about the one with Sarah Stock and whoever her boss was. From one perspective, it's kind of like a horror story, because it's the one situation in which every guy kind of fears that the person they're dating completely and totally lies to them. Completely and totally lies to them. It's a completely different person than you thought you were dating. And so it's like, well, it's wasting my time, got my emotions involved, committed myself, really thought that this was it. And then just your whole life just crashes in front of you. So there's that. The other thing too is like, it also shows the what we've heard a lot about is the ability women have to manipulate men who use marriage and other sorts of things to trap men into a situation they don't want to be in. Of course, that's not every single woman out there, of course, but because it's a conservative influencer that a lot of people are imitating, and that's the problem, is that influencers are imitated. That's ultimately what gives everybody pause, is that influencers are imitated. So, and this is also why some people have said that, detraction is a sin, and no one really needed to know except for her husband and his wife and that sort of thing. But it's like the fact that these people are imitated and they're propped up on a pedestal for young people to listen to get their ideas from, these sorts of things. In a sense, everybody has a right to know. Everybody has the right to know that these people were living a lie. Now, okay, sure, some of the things they said were true, but where do these people get their credibility from? It's not like they held a particular office that was assigned to them by some sort of superior authority. They spoke, people clicked and liked, they got put on a platform. It was in a sense democratically, that how they gained their influence. And so in one sense, people need to know that their democratic process, so to speak, the people that they thought were good speakers, they were wrong in judging that this person that deserved this platform. They were wrong in judging this. And so, no, it's actually true that these people, everybody has a right to know, in a sense, that these people were living a double life, a hypocritical life. All the more reason why this lay people, secular grifter, influencer, podcaster thing, it doesn't work. It's not going to be healthy for society. It doesn't guarantee in any way, shape, or form real men, real women that can lead other men and women to heaven. It doesn't guarantee anything. And especially when you're doing things for clicks, for likes, and for money, for more speaking engagements. This is why we call them grifters. This is why we call them grifters, because they want a platform to go make money, to have their $1 million houses, to provide for their families, and their primary end is not the common good. This is, in a sense, why one of the reasons why a celibate priesthood, for instance, is very beneficial, because we don't have to worry about those things. We only have to worry about ourselves, and we can suffer to the extent that we're willing and able. And we don't have to watch our own children suffer, our own spouse suffer, these sorts of things. And so, I mean, there's some podcasters out there that say, "Oh, I didn't, even though I was ordained a priest in my Anglican community, I didn't accept, being a Catholic priest whenever I converted, because I value celibacy, I honor celibacy." But then they go out and cave to agendas, cave to authorities that want them to sacrifice the truth, all for the sake of money. And so that's really ultimately what it comes down to. So it really is, it's scandalous on both, what does this look like for Gen Z, and for dating, for marriage, these sorts of things, what to expect, how to keep this from happening to you. But then also in this lay influencer culture, this is why I constantly tell young people, do not listen to podcasts. Do not listen to podcasts. You don't even have to listen to mine. Like, just if you want to log off the internet, you have my blessing. Go and just log off the internet. Just stay away. But there's really is very, very little good to it. I mean, here on Restless Heart Media, we're trying to make this completely about spiritual theology, these sorts of things. But it's very easy to get caught up on in politics rather than getting to heaven.
We have nearly 100 people logged in across platforms. We are live streaming on X. We are live streaming on YouTube. We do want to remind everybody, Father Martin, about the Procedamus 2026 Gala in Clearwater Beach, Florida. You can acquire your tickets now at procedamus.com. It's coming up here in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to being there. Father Kevin Robinson will be the keynote speaker there. He will be the keynote speaker at the Procedamus 2026 Gala. And then the Sunday following will be over at Mass at Our Lady of Good Hope, Old Roman Catholic Church in Pinellas Park, Florida. So if you want to meet Father Kevin Robinson, go to the Procedamus 2026 Gala in a couple of weeks, procedamus.com. All right, let's get started with a few of the questions. Maybe we just need to stop talking as much, Father, because nobody's dropping questions. Everybody's just listening. So let's see.
I know. Well, here's one up at the very top. Oh, actually, yeah, here's one.
All right, the Lost Creole, thank you so much for joining back the chat. The question is, what will the SSPX people do if Tucho ordains bishops in the trad rite? What do you think, Father?
The real question is, what is it exactly that constitutes the state of necessity? What is it exactly that constitutes the state of necessity? Is it just that Rome allows a Father James Martin to go around talking about an LGBTQ agenda? Is that what makes it necessary to consecrate 5 bishops to ordain SSPX priests? Is that it? Or is it the fact that the Novus Ordo rites are extremely dubious or possibly invalid? Because those are two extreme different things. So the crisis of faith, saying that is what constitutes a state of necessity. I mean, given the amount of books that could be published, podcasts that could be had, having illicitly ordained priests doesn't necessarily guarantee that the faith will be preached. I mean, you don't hold an office within the church in that regard. I mean, you can try to build a credible institution like the Society of St. Pius X to combat false teachers, priests preaching heresy from the pulpit. But when that same institution goes quiet about the errors of the Second Vatican Council because they're working out a deal with Rome, they compromise their own credibility. And that's exactly what they've done since 2012. What they're ultimately telling us is that in all of these, Bishop of Lay has been publicly speaking since 2012 of all the proofs that they're Catholic and they're in communion with Rome and these sorts of things. But then all of a sudden now in 2026, we're in the same spot as 1988. How does that work? I mean, we just shot 40 years back when we thought SSPX was preaching that there were somehow things were going good, full communion, getting faculties, these sorts of things. It's bizarre. So that's what I would, you know, put forth to the SSPX is actually explain what exactly constitutes the state of necessity. Why do you need to actually consecrate bishops for sacraments? For sacraments. I mean, you have bishops ordaining priests for the FSSP, Institute of Christ as King, Institute of the Good Shepherd. It's not that there's not bishops willing to ordain priests that are exclusively traditional at Mass. It's not that they're not willing to ordain priests that, you know, in the confessional preach St. Alphonsus Liguori. What is the necessity exactly? What is the necessity exactly?
By the way, Father, this the whole conversation about the grifters and with having Father Laforte over in Deerfield Beach, Florida, very near Miami. So with everything going on with the grifters, with and everything going on regarding Charlie Kirk, for example, Florida is a big epicenter for a lot of the drama. So we have Mar-a-Lago, very in the same county as Father Laforte's parish, and very near the Miami area. And then everything going on in Tampa. Candace Owens was doing her show, listening in a little bit. A lot of people based out of the Tampa area. If you live in those areas and want to live, unlike the grifters, a traditional Catholic life, you have Father Laforte available, you have Father Martin available. None of these grifters are reaching out, Father, but a bunch of them are claiming that they are super Catholic. And then they are involved in very shady stuff, but also involved in the Novus Ordo Church happenings. Not to give more details away than that. So none of these people are interested in living if you're wondering, oh, maybe this guy is really based, none of the, especially referring specifically to the Republican grifters, none of these guys are interested in living a Catholic life. And celebrity priests are even going out there, Father, offering a mass in Mar-a-Lago and being invited to this or that, supposedly demon experts. What? Anyway, not to go off on a tangent, but if someone is very famous over in the internet and seen as a voice of influence in this or that field, you can pretty much have it, at least in the moral grounds. It's for sure that they are not living what they are preaching. Otherwise, their children would be following. They would be joining you, Father. That would be the Oblates of St. Augustine would not take any more vocations because of just how packed it would be with all the children of the grifters that would be converting and having and living religious lives. But
it's interesting how, you know, fathers who are podcasters who make their whole living on writing books about spirituality, Catholicism, and podcasting constantly every single day about Catholicism will have 8 children and 0 vocations. Meanwhile, Louis Martin, the father of Saint Therese of Lisieux, had several daughters. He just went and made watches. He was a watchmaker. You know, he was working on watches. He had his watch store, and he was able to produce vocations in every single one of his daughters. Maybe more Catholic men need to make more watches instead of podcasting. I don't know.
True. Let's see the next question. MDK384 says, good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining the chat. This is not so much as a question, but a general comment. But I'm pretty sure that we can talk about this, Father. I always get the impression that the spirit of Vatican II is simply laxity. This is an interesting question because I was listening to a writing, listening because I was driving, and I was wondering whether certain topics from St. Alphonsus were available in audio version over on YouTube in Spanish, specifically. So I was listening to a wonderful. It's like a 12-minute video, just really mainly audio, about from one of the writings of St. Alphonsus on the virtues that everybody who loves Jesus Christ needs to practice. One of the most beautiful things that I've ever heard or read or whatever from St. Alphonsus. And I realized, Father, that the accusations that, for example, the Jimmy Martins of the world, who is sending his regards and his congratulations to the newly installed Archbishop of New York, who himself looks very, very suspicious. But anyway, Looks like he's just from looks. He and listening. So I really can't believe that trats were out there saying, but he went to a Latin mass or whatever. What anyway? I forgot what I was talking about. Father Jimmy Martin, who sends his regards. I forgot. Oh, Spirit of Vatican II. Spirit of Vatican II. So the accusation that gets thrown our way, Father, is that we are very rigid. But I'm listening to St. Alphonsus, who some trats would say he is more tratter than thou, basically. And he's saying we need to be sweet and affable to everybody, especially our enemies. And he cites, for example, the example of St. Francis de Sales. So it seems that everything that they accuse us of is a lie. It's not true. The saints are teaching the opposite, or, which is another possibility, we don't read the saints in the Trid movement, Father. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, we kind of entrust, well, men and fathers because they had the duty to provide for their families. Oftentimes, kind of maybe dedicate more time than they should to work or even outdoor leisure, doing manly things. Of course, the authentic masculinity movement is pretty good, pretty affluent, I guess, in our culture, especially in the trad world. But one thing that's very often not emphasized enough is the interior life. Is Saint Joseph. Maybe people will emphasize more that he was a carpenter, emphasize more his manual labor, more so than emphasize his closeness to our Lord and Our Lady, which is precisely what the interior life is. I mean, he's a patron of the interior life, and people would actually try to emphasize the fact that he worked with his hands more so than the fact that he actually had a profound relationship with our Lord and Our Lady. And so I think that's one of the issues, is that because of that, I mean, again, American Protestant work ethic, American Protestant culture emphasizes more that you're not a real man unless you're providing a comfortable middle class life for your wife and your children, all that kind of stuff. And neither is that true. Neither is that true. Of course, you have to pay the bills. Of course, you have to pay the bills. But that you get to go on a Disney vacation every other year, there's no requirement for do that. You're not a real man unless you provide a vacation every year, every 2 years. No, that's bizarre. Vacations are like a relatively new thing too. Pilgrimage, that's one thing. Vacation, no. Vacations are more work too. I as I was growing up, I learned to hate vacations because they were so stressful. Everybody wants to do something at a specific time. You have to get up out of bed at a specific time and meet all these schedules, all that kind of stuff. It's terrible. Vacations are lame. Anyway.
True. I can agree with that. MDK 384 follows up. In practice, it usually boils down to things that like removing altar rails. Yeah, the way that can be understood is that the Novus Ordo are against Eucharistic devotion, which is why they want to get that altar rail out of your church. That's why they want to get that altar rail out of your church. Good evening, Mr. Mark Becker. Thank you so much for joining us back in the chat. Glad you were able to make it. Seems like you were a little bit later, or more late than I was. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. Caritas Veritate, thank you so much for participating in the chat. Oh, Diane, that is a wonderful comment that we'll get to here in a little bit. Caritas Veritate says the superior general may be better to answer the question, but it seems to me the accelerated attack on Our Lady is a good argument on the necessity. Yes, I agree. I agree with this. And again, we were talking about, for those that may have just logged in, we have over 100 souls logged in. We are streaming live across platforms on X and on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining the chat tonight. Pardon me. What people are telling Father Calvin Robinson, oh, you should come into full communion with Prevost and Rome and this or that. Did everybody just forget, Father, about that document on Our Lady? This pontificate does not promote devotion to Our Lady. They actually promote the opposite. Are we forgetting about all these things? What's happening?
When it comes to these documents, everybody can simply ignore them. This is the whole idea of recognize and resist. A document like this, bashing Our Lady, removing her titles that she's due, you can just recognize that it's false and resist it. We can podcast against it. We can get Michael Matt out there to make a tweet, a really long tweet, saying how bad it is, whatever. It's just the recognize and resist mentality. Um, but I'm trying to remember what I was saying at the exact moment. Well, here's the thing too. It's like Archbishop Lafayette explicitly said he would have no negotiations or compromise with modernist Rome. But Bishop Fillet, that's exactly what his modus operandi was try to negotiate and get leverage with modernist Rome. Now, Bishop Fillet needs to realize that it's not going to be Society of St. Pius X alone that's going to get the Catholic Church to finally come back to its senses. When I say Catholic Church, I mean the hierarchy. It's the fact that there are going to be so many communities rising up, all believing this exact same thing that has been believed always, everywhere, and throughout all time by everyone. Always, everywhere, and by everyone. And not under the jurisdiction, so to speak, under the auspices of the Society of St. Pius X, one such community being the Old Roman Catholic See of Caer-Glow. We believe the same faith, the pre-Vatican II Catholicism. The Sedevacantist groups also believe the same thing, but they add on certain things like Sanborn, like he's not going to give you sacraments unless you believe, I don't know, that our Lord wore a green T-shirt when he was 12 years old. I don't know. They make up weird things, but it ultimately comes down to that. It's going to be everyone taking into consideration, not just the Society of St. Pius X. So yeah, there's recognize and resist. You can resist what they say, or recognize that they say is wrong, and then resist jurisdictionally regarding ordinations and consecration. So,
Father Martin, don't read Diane's comment just yet, because I already know where this is going, and we'll get there. Don't
Just
do
read
it. Don't do it. Okay, too late. Too late. Oh, Mark Becker. Oh, there we go. Don't even. Maybe we won't even let you answer that comment, Father, because
Why?
I think you will agree with Mark Becker. I don't know if he's saying this in regards to
Mark, on your side.
Yes. All right. Let's see. Father LaForge checking out Rosary Time with the South Florida Men's Group. Good night and pray the Rosary publicly in your men's groups. This is what we're talking about. Father, are you telling me that parish priests actually have responsibilities, unlike the grifters, actually have things to go do?
Yeah, so there's grifting priests, these canceled priests who don't have any flock whatsoever. They're offering private masses and asking you for donations just so they can live, in a comfortable house and not do anything for anybody, not provide the sacraments. Or if they provide sacraments, it's to like one or two benefactors or close friends, and that's it. Father LaFour and I, we actually have parishes, 60 plus people at least, at the very least. Many families, young children, baptisms coming on the way, funerals being celebrated, uh, and scholas to be built, many parish activities, rosary prayer groups, men's groups, these sorts of things. I obviously don't have the time to put out content every single day as priests who don't have parishes do. Trad priests, canceled priests, whatever else. Here at the Old Roman Catholic See of Caer-Glow, we actually have mission. We actually have an apostolate. We actually have things that we're doing. We're actually parish priests. But at the same time, of course, everybody who comes to their parish, they're not billionaires. Not everyone is a billionaire. So we have to resort to the same strategies as we put our needs out there. We demonstrate our apostolate to the world, and we trust God's providence to help us with the material resources that we need to provide spiritually for the faithful.
There we go. The analyst says, good evening, all. Good evening, Dan. Thank you so much for joining the chat and getting Father Martin fired up here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Gavin asks, how should a Catholic view Leo XIV? Is there a certain kind of respect that should be given toward his office? What do you think, Father?
I mean, the respect is that, yeah, he's Pope. And, honestly, it's respectful to his office to concentrate more on the interior life, concentrate more on the spiritual life, and not on the day-to-day news that, again, lay grifters who create things like the National Catholic Register and Reporter and all sorts of things, try to sell you because they need clicks in order to gain revenue. And so everybody tries to make clickbait. Everybody tries to make the latest document the most important thing you need. That's not the case. If I can't imagine being Pope, for instance. That's the first thing. I can't imagine being Pope. But if I was Pope, if someone came to me and said, Holy Father, I have never heard of anything you ever said or declared in your pontificate, because I was so concentrated on my daily spiritual routine, reading the Introduction about Life, reading the Lives of the Saints, these sorts of things. I mean, I wouldn't be hard done by. If someone is so concentrated on working out, I mean, what do they expect hermits to do? You think Carthusians did an update in their email, like the what do you call it, the RMS or RRS or RSS? What you know, things that go straight to your email every morning about what the Holy Father says. You think Carthusians actually get this? No, no. So it's not necessarily conducive to our holiness to hear every single word the Holy Father says. What is a respect for his office is actually pursuing that which his office is supposed to help you do, which is to become a saint. So if you have to ignore him to become a saint, I mean, to me, that's perfectly respectful to his office. I think you're muted.
Oh, there we go. I was muted. My bad. Diane says, I have Novus Ordo versus Strat fatigue. And then she says, Father, some sedevacantists say we should question the validity of our baptisms. What is your opinion?
They do this just so that they can get you agitated and confused and worrisome, so that they can then sell you their product. It's almost as if, like, you were taking Advil for a headache, and Tylenol came over and said, "Oh, I would question the efficacy of Advil because you don't know how they made that pill, so you should just take this Tylenol." And you're like, "Oh, oh, I don't know what to do. Well, better to take the Tylenol just in case." It's pretty pathetic. It's they need people in their congregations. They need money, and instead of actually um, helping you helping you to be introduced to our Lord and His healing grace and His grace to help you become holy, instead of selling you based on helping you become a saint, because they can do that apparently, it's that they have to rely on arguments that force you to question or to doubt the validity of actually valid sacraments. Like, it's a sacrilege to repeat sacraments. It's a sacrilege to repeat sacraments, and they're willing to risk that on your soul because it's on you, simply to sell you the fact that you can only go exclusively to them, and it's absolutely bizarre.
I do agree with you, Diane, that the best is to pretty much just ignore them. I agree with the Los Krill. Just say no. This is what I was saying. What Mark Becker was saying. It makes me want to punch someone in the nose. And here's the thing, Father, is that not only do they make the laity question the validity of their baptism, confirmations, and whatever, they what's a lot of people may not even be aware of is that they go as far as even making priests question their holy orders.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't
No,
follow their line, they will say really, not all, but a lot will say really nasty things to you and be like, oh, you don't have a real valid orders unless you do this or that, things like that.
so what would happen? Like, I mean, they do this even to older priests. Priests who have been ordained for decades. So what would that priest have to admit? That all the absolutions they gave were invalid. All of the confirmations they were delegated to give by the local ordinary, invalid. Um, all the masses that they offered, all the stipends that they took, people that wanted a valid mass offered for them, they have to admit those were invalid masses, and so they're morally obligated to repeat all those masses. The set of contest leverage that they try to pull on invalid sacraments is absolutely bizarre and insane. And it's actually one of the things that really keeps me from siding with them, because okay, we all believed it was one of the most evil things that could have been done by bishops, of all people, bishops in 2020, to shut down all the churches in the United States because it ultimately said that the sacraments aren't important. And that was just in the United States, right? Okay. Now imagine Almighty God telling you you need the sacraments to be saved. You need the sacraments to be saved. And by allowing, whether it be passively or actively, allowing invalid rites for consecrations of bishops and ordinations of priests, invalidated ordinations and consecrations throughout the entire world. Almighty God would have done something far, far, far more evil than what the bishops in the United States did in 2020. So if you're really going to believe that the Novus Ordo sacraments are invalid, you have to believe that Almighty God did something far worse than what the USCCB did in 2020. You have to admit this. You have to admit this.
There we go. We have over 100 people watching live. Thank you so much for spending your Friday evening with us in your favorite, and this is the best Catholic Friday night show here on Restless Heart Media. Remember to go to procedamus.com for the Procedamus 2026 Gala in Clearwater Beach, Florida. It's coming up here in a couple of weeks. Procedamus.com. Father Kevin Robinson will be the keynote speaker. Buck Hall will be the master of ceremonies. So if you want to ask some questions to Father Kevin Robinson regarding the recent news, go ahead and go to procedamus.com and acquire your tickets today. Let's see. The Lost Crow says, if you do not say the rosary daily, you are not on this stream. And then Diane says, oh no, what did I do? No, and here's the thing. The thing is that this has been a topic, and it's always a topic really with the Sedevacantists. There are people that are Sedevacantists that live in places where Sedevacantist priests have to actually travel by plane to even be there, that will only go to mass with one specific group of trats. I'm not talking about the Novus Ordo. I don't believe that anybody should ever go to the Novus Ordo. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the traditional Latin mass, even not affiliated with the Novus Ordo. So let's say, okay, not diocesan, not FSSP, not institute. Okay, I can understand that, but there are people, Father, that will only go to mass when the specific priest from a specific triad group visits only. That is not really Catholic.
I mean, it's so petty that I've known people who subscribe to SSPX Resistance, and they'll only go to mass when an SSPX Resistance priest is in town, even though there's SSPX like 20 minutes away from their house, 30 minutes away from their house, but they'll only go SSPX Resistance. This is nuts.
And there are people that will only go SSPX, and they won't go to, for example, a diocesan Latin mass. But then you have the Father Pagliarani meeting with Cardinal Tucho Fernandez. So what are we even doing here? That seems to me very, very much inconsistent.
Oh yeah.
Chris Lopez says, hello, Father and Alberto and Father. Just finishing good Italian eating pizza, and it was meatless being Friday. Wonderful. Good evening. Hope sounds like dinner. I was going to say that. Hope the dinner was good, but it sounds like it was. So, welcome back to the chat. Welcome to the stream. Diane says, thank you, Father, for answering. And the Lost Creole says, like Father said, scandal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, scandal. Mark Becker says, it's sad to say most NO priests are homosexuals. And bishops, I'm traumatized, Father, by the new Archbishop of New York. It's just gross.
He's gonna be hard to watch speak.
He already is. There was a video that was going around online where they posted like his entire body, and I was like, this looks like that gay what is it, flight attendant. That's exactly what it looks like. Benjamin Ling 8269, welcome to the chat. Thank you so much for watching tonight. He says, there's a grifter near me who washed out of 2 NO parishes because he was lousy, and now he calls himself a canceled priest. On his blog, he just told donors to reach out to him for tax deduction paperwork. Oh, okay. No. Let's see. The Lost Krill. A society priest told us if there was no SSPX, we could go to an NO, but not an... Wait. What? What? A society priest told us if there was no SSPX, we could go to a Novus Ordo, but not another TLM. Go figure.
Man.
What?
The inconsistencies here.
I have heard of SSPX priests telling people that it's fine to go to like Novus Ordo parishes for Eucharistic adoration and things like that. So, but this one is
again. But that goes back to what we were saying earlier, like a state of necessity. if the SSPX is going to control even their own priests from attacking the Second Vatican Council because of relationship with Rome, then there is no state of necessity because SSPX is simply doing what the FSSP does. There is no state of necessity. So yeah, this collection of data, all this collection of data is important. And seeing whether or not the SSPX is actually making a congruent argument.
Walter Masinski says, "Good evening. Please pray for Timothy Cardinal Dolan. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday! Is it today? Today his 75th birthday or 76th? I don't
Probably
really know.
76th.
But happy birthday to Cardinal Dolan. Happy birthday to him. This reminds me, Father. It's always so funny when we have Novus Hordites out on the internet that are like, oh, you guys are schismatic, this or that. I recently ran into a bishop that just recently got a new assignment. He's as an ordinary at a U.S. diocese. Ran into him and he was very nice to me. He just said hi to each other. I was not told that I'm in schism. I was not told anything nasty as a Novus Hordites online. So I always get a kick out of that. Chris Lopez says, question: if a bishop in a diocese is living in mortal sin, does that cut off graces to that city? Would elements of crime begin to rise? I don't know. What do you think, Father?
I mean, it's a kind of a question that it would lead people to make rash judgments, because in the sense that, I mean, St. Peter and St. Paul went to Rome and that city was full of debauchery. St. John went to Ephesus, so even though a bishop is living in a state of grace doesn't mean a city is going to be not living in sin, so I can't compare the two. I don't see a causation factor here, just a mere correlation.
Mark Becker says they need some good bishops to straighten him out. We
still have
they can be sent over to the Archdiocese of New York. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, that one is rough. That new one. I think that out of all the archbishops that I've seen, I don't even think that France is ever even there to appoint someone that just, well, yeah, whatever. We have still 6.5 minutes left to go. We are here to answer any of your questions. I don't think that we've skipped over any questions, Father. So anybody feel free to post any additional questions over here in the chat. We do have the Procedamus Gala in Clearwater Beach, Florida. Coming up. Procedamus.com. Caritas Veritate asks, do bishops from Old Roman get permission to be consecrated? So before I pass over this question to you, Father, it's important to remember it's a very long name, but we make the distinction: Old Roman Catholic, See of Caer-Glow, because there are many people online on Twitter, etc. They're like, oh, I'm Old Roman Catholic, I'm Old Catholic, Old Roman, whatever. So it's Old Roman Catholic, See of Caer-Glow. That is the specific distinction, the specific association which the Oblates of St. Augustine are associated with. So, Father, anyway, here you go. What do you think?
So we have a constitution. Well, here's the thing: is we inherit the tradition that came from actual Utrecht, the Archdiocese of Utrecht back in the 1700s, of actually having a cathedral chapter, and the cathedral chapter, which was made up of canons, elected the next bishop. They sent the person that they elected, the name of the person elected, to the Pope. The Pope simply approved it, and then they consecrate that person the bishop of their archdiocese. And so we follow the same model as a cathedral chapter. And so we have our constitutions that proposes names, all these sorts of things, but ultimately it has to receive a certain level of approval. I mean, canonically, as it would as a cathedral chapter. So in one sense, it's a permission from the entire group to get someone consecrated, but there has to be when we say mandate, we mean need, an actual need. So it can't be just because someone wants to be a bishop and he manipulates people. There has to be we prefer to have at least 3 bishops for the sake of ensuring traditionally the validity of passing on the lineage. Obviously, we want to also temper that with how many faithful we have, how many parishes we have, because otherwise it's we fit into the joke. What do you call an old Catholic? It's 3 bishops in a garage. No, we're not that. We have 3 bishops right now. We have, over 100 faithful. So we have a legitimate need. But I mean, as we're getting older, we're not rushing to consecrate new bishops at the moment without actual need. So yes, we get permission, but we do so according to the model of a cathedral chapter.
Mark Becker says Cardinal Dolan closed half his parishes. Well, one thing that I thought was very ironic was that after they announced the new Archbishop of New York, Cardinal Dolan started posting some videos, which I thought were very, very good videos. Like one thing that comes to mind would be talking about why it's important to give children Catholic names and this and that. Thank you so much for the thank you for the super chat.
Our first ever super chat. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you so much. Dallas Creel says, was St. Augustine the originator of the Sacred Heart?
Oof, no. I mean, Saint Teresa of Avila really emphasized the incarnation and the sacred humanity. Well, I mean, that's the thing about all these devotions. They're all a different way of looking at the same thing. So you could always make an argument that because maybe St. Augustine emphasized the word becoming flesh, and the flesh ultimately meaning it has a human heart, and the Sacred Heart emphasizing the human desires that are united to the divine desires, these sorts of things. So, I mean, sure, you can pull an argument, but I mean, the Sacred Heart is ultimately its unique devotion. So
there we go. Dallas Girl says there are hearts everywhere in our local St. Augustine monastery. Maybe that's just a monastery had just a big devotion to the Sacred Heart.
Or also, I mean, St. Augustine, his symbol is a bishop. He's dressed as a bishop. He also has a flaming heart in his hand, which is precisely the logo for Restless Heart Media is the heart on fire in his hand. So
there we go. So yeah, exactly. Diane, thank you so much for the first super chat. We're so excited. We have a couple of minutes more left to go. So 2 personalities, Father, that will be at the Procedamus Gala have recently been on the news. Buck Hall has been on the news recently a lot because they ran news stories on his family and his way of living. MDK 384 says, "Good evening, gentlemen." Oh, wait, no, I was scrolling up. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, you're way behind. Yeah. Oh, here's one though. Here's one though. Can I start throwing up?
Let's go.
Actually, no. Wait, first, talk about the gala and Buck Hall and
yes. So Buck Hall has been in the news a lot in secular news, secular entertainment news, as usually child stars usually come up to the forefront once in a while. He's been in the news a lot because they ran news stories on his family's way of life. And of course, Father Kevin Robinson is going everywhere tonight on social media based on his new affiliation. Anyway, go on, Father.
Okay. You're probably not gonna appreciate this, Alberto. Okay. I'm gonna throw it up anyway.
How did I not see that comment? Where is it?
It was from X.
I usually can't see. Oh, it's at the very, very. Oh yeah,
very top, absolute top. I saw it. It showed up there way after we had 5 or 6 more from YouTube, and all of a sudden this one shows up, and it shows up at the very beginning. I was like, that's weird.
I see. 5:47 a.m. Maybe Grace before meals. Maybe it's 5:47 a.m. where they're at, and maybe that's why I posted.
Huh.
I miss you guys. The rundown. Yeah. Well, we're here. We're here, so we're happy to be here. Maybe some of the former rundown people could join us one of these days.
Maybe James the Nigerian Trad or Ryan or somebody. Anyway.
Let's see. The last one. This is the last question just because it came in right before the 1 hour mark. All right, let's see. The last Creole. Oh, there we go. Do you agree with Buck that the hours are more important than the rosary for laymen? I personally, yes, I agree with that. What do you think, Father?
So it's not really a matter of opinion. The for laymen thing, that doesn't really matter. Liturgy is higher than devotion. The rosary is a devotion. The liturgy hours or the divine office is a liturgy. It's a liturgy. And so liturgy supersedes devotion. This is why also the little office of the Blessed Virgin Mary supersedes the rosary, especially when it comes to your promises for the scapulars and all that kind of stuff. The little office of the Blessed Virgin Mary, far more important. You can get dispensed from that and pray the rosary instead. But nevertheless, liturgy supersedes devotion. So yes, absolutely, the divine office is more important than the rosary.
There we go. Great question. Great question, actually. What's that?
But pray the rosary.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, the last girl, for the last question. Thank you, Diane, for the first ever super chat in the history of Restless Heart Media. And that's a good reminder that we are now monetized. So you can now contribute to the Oblates of St. Augustine via the super chat now, directly here. If you don't want to go to oblatesofstaugustine.org for your contribution, you can just do it directly right here on the super chat. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Very, very happy, very glad that we got to spend at least 1 hour of Friday evening with you. Father, anything else before we go? We're back on Tuesday, by the way. We are back on Tuesday with the story of a soul.
We are back on Tuesday. Now you guys are grifters. Yes, we've reached grifter status.
Yes, there we go. And see, here's the thing. I do sales, Father. You are a mendicant. So we are kind of grifters. We have the grifter in us.
We beg. I'll let you know when I need it. I need food. Help. Four. All right, guys. See you on Tuesday. We're going back on Story of the Soul, back to spiritual theology. And yeah, same program here on Restless Heart Media. Saving souls, helping us grow in holiness, interior life. God bless.